Welcome back to another story that we've been tracking. The film industry is up in arms a day after the centre framed a draft bill which could give the government powers to scrap censor clearance given to any movie. Directors and actors across the country have opposed the centre's move. Take a look at this report.
India's censor laws are about to change. The draft Cinematograph Bill 2021, released by the Centre for Public Opinion, has become a flashpoint between the government and the film industry. As per the proposed law, the centre will have powers to re-examine the films that have already been certified. If the centre feels a film is against the security of the state, public order, decency or morality, involves defamation or contempt of court, or hurts friendly relations with foreign states, it can revise the CBFC's decision. The film fraternity is fuming. They fear this will lead to more vigilantism and mob censorship. Director Vishal Bharadwaj took to social media to say film boards and courts are enough to regulate content. Kamal Haasan slammed the bill and asked others to back freedom of speech and liberty. A group of actors and filmmakers, including Anurag Kashyap, Hansal Mehta, Shabana Azmi and Dibakar Banerjee, have written an open letter to the Information and Broadcasting Ministry. They say the move has the potential to endanger freedom of expression and democratic dissent. However, veteran filmmaker Shyam Benegal did not find the amendment objectionable.
If there is a good enough reason, those reasons are given. You know, if you look at the CBFC the guidelines, those reasons are given. You say that, look, if this constitutes a threat to the state, to the nation, then it's a different matter, you know. But otherwise, why are you concerned?
The draft comes shortly after the Film Certificate Appellate Tribunal, which was the last point of appeal for filmmakers against the certificate granted, was abolished in April. Bureau Report, India Today.
And I spoke a short while ago to Shyam Benegal, who, remember, in 2016 headed that committee to look into the Cinematograph Act. Mr. Benegal, thanks very much for joining me. The changes that you suggested by the government, the changes that this government is now suggesting in the Cinematograph Act has the film industry up in arms. They fear, Mr. Benegal, that the power to review a film after it has been cleared by the censors based on any public complaint could lead to the government playing super censor. As someone who headed that committee to review the act, do you share their concern that now government will play super censor?
Well, you see, there was a provision in the report that we had made. For instance, if a film, if there is, like, says, I'll tell you what that particular section is. Section 5B1. A film shall not be certified for public exhibition in the opinion of the authority competent to grant the certificate. The film or any part of it, if it is against the interests of the sovereignty and integrity of India, the security of state, or deals with friendly relations with the, with foreign powers, etc. Now that was the condition. That 5B was there. The recall for the film by the government was on the basis of that. It had to do with, the sovereignty of the country, and it had to do with relations of our country with other countries of the world. Now, I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that they can just choose to call back a film for reasons best known to them. Because, after all, the CBFC has been set up by the state, and it's supposed to be autonomous. And the people who have been chosen are not necessarily people who, go by the attitudes or the views of the government in power at that time. They represent the state. The whole idea of having a board of certification is supposed to be under the constitution of the country. Therefore, what matters is the constitution. If something that you're doing is unconstitutional, fine. You know, you have to be made to pay for that. That's a different thing. But you cannot possibly, deal with it like, any government in power just comes back and says, no, I wish to review this film. On what reason? Somebody may complain.
So therefore, do you fear as actors like Shabana Azmi and others fear that this could lead now to pre-censorship based not on fears of national security or sovereignty, but based on what the government believes suits their narrative? That's the fear, that governments will now decide whether a film should be reviewed even after it's been cleared by the censors.
Well, see, now that's a matter of interpretation, isn't it? I mean, you cannot have the things that can be interpreted in different ways. There has to be some basis. The basis in this case, the whole idea of a pre-censor is on the basis of the fact that we have a constitution, and is this within the does it fit into the framework of our constitution, or is it outside of that constitution? If it is outside of that constitution, certainly, please, you have no business to be functioning outside of the constitution.
Right. So you're saying that if a filmmaker has done something which is deemed to be outside the framework of the constitution, you have a right to recall or review a film, but not otherwise. What you're also saying, therefore, I presume, is that the existing system of film censorship, which you reviewed in 2016, is working fine. Why should the government, like Big Boss, come and tinker with it? Am I correct?
I totally agree with that view. The system is perfectly fine. There's no need for anything else because it's working. If it wasn't working, it's a different matter. There will be, of course, from time to time, people will complain. But that's another thing. But there's no popular demand for any kind of change. Because you see, if there was a popular demand, then obviously it'll be raised in Parliament. The Parliament will have to look at it because that's the house of the people. They will have to decide and then make a new law if it is necessary, or even make amendments to laws. But why does the government of the day have to interfere in this problem?
Why does the government of the day have to interfere in film censorship is what you're saying, Mr. Benegal. I think you've now clarified your position, and I think that is the position of the majority of the film industry, that this attempt to review censorship should be done through Parliament, not on the basis of the government's fancies at the time. Thanks very much, Shyam Benegal, for joining me here on the news today. Now,